The original Blade Runner is a legendary film which all of us at Babbletop love, so we wanted to share a few awesome Easter egg style moments that even die-hard fans may not know about. And while we love Blade Runner, we would love it a lot more if you hit that subscribe button and ding that little notification bell as well. Pris's incept date. In Blade Runner, Harrison Ford's Deckard is tasked with tracking down 4 Nexus 6 model replicants and retiring them.
Come on, don't be an asshole, Deckard. I've got 4 skin jobs walking the streets.
When Deckard is given this mission at the LAPD headquarters from Police Chief Harry Bryant, they look over the profiles of the replicants that Deckard will be hunting. Among the profile information is the incept dates for each of the replicants. For Daryl Hannah's Pris, that date is Valentine's Day, which given her designation as a pleasure model is pretty funny as an Easter egg that she would be built on the quote-unquote most romantic day of the year. It is uncertain if all pleasure model Nexus 6 were made on Valentine's Day or if it's a one-off that our acrobatic replicant is a Valentine's baby. We will probably never know the answer.
I think, Sebastian. Therefore I am.
Stock footage ending. In the end of Blade Runner, we are treated to Deckard and Rachel fleeing from Los Angeles to start a life together.
You love me?
We get them driving through a countryside with trees passing over before being treated to a montage of rolling hills as the main credits start. Something that many fans of the film don't know is that the foliage is nothing more than stock footage from another legendary filmmaker, that being Stanley Kubrick, and that footage coming from his film The Shining.
Come and play with us.
You know, if you're going to end a movie with stock footage from another filmmaker, you can do a whole lot worse than lifting from arguably the greatest auteur of all time. The Millennium Falcon repurposed.
Tell them I'm eating.
Captain Brian Toga. Millennium Mail.
In the early part of the film, when Deckard is coerced by Gaff to come with him to the LAPD, there are a series of shots of them flying in the LAPD spinner to the police station. In one of those wide shots of the buildings, you can notice in the background that one of these skyscrapers bears a resemblance to a vehicle Harrison Ford knows all too well, that being the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Don't fret if you haven't been able to spot this Easter egg, as it is pretty well hidden, and most fans didn't even know about it until featurettes on the DVD and Blu-ray releases. But now that you know, the next time you watch this movie with some friends, you can let them know about one of the coolest Blade Runner Easter eggs.
If only you could see what I've seen with your eyes.
That forehead tattoo. In the second act of Blade Runner, Deckard finds a scale in a bathtub, so he takes it to someone to get it identified, and contrary to Deckard's belief that it is a fish scale,
Fish?
it in fact belongs to a snake, which leads him to a snake vendor, and here we can see that the snake vendor has a tattoo on his forehead. That tattoo is, of course, you guessed it, the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. This is another blink and you'll miss it Easter egg, so we hope your pause skills are up to snuff, or just watch it in something you can frame by frame so you can make sure you see it.
You ever buy snakes from the Egyptian, Taffy?
All the time, pal.
They settled on Harrison Ford.
I want to see a negative before I provide you with a positive.
What's that gonna prove?
When Ridley Scott set out to make Blade Runner, Harrison Ford was not the first choice for the role of Deckard. Far from it. Screenwriter Hampton Fancher wanted Robert Mitchum for the role of Deckard. When he wrote the dialogue for the character, he wrote it as if Mitchum was delivering the dialogue. Other notable actors wanted for the role of Deckard include Tommy Lee Jones, Gene Hackman, Clint Eastwood, Sean Connery, Burt Reynolds, Jack Nicholson, Dustin Hoffman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Al Pacino, and Paul Newman. But in the end, it would be Harrison Ford that would be Deckard. I think we can all agree that he was the right choice, as we could not see any of those actors delivering in the role. Philip K. Dick loved Rutger Hauer.
Time. Enough.
Another fun casting Easter egg, when Hauer was cast as Roy Batty, Ridley Scott showed Philip K. Dick some photos of Hauer, and Dick was ecstatic about the casting. Beaming, I was looking at stills of him and I said, oh my god, this is the Nordic Superman that Hitler said would come marching out of a laboratory. This is the blonde beast that the Nazis were creating. And of course, the origin of the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was my research into the Nazis for The Man in High Castle. As far as the man who made the source material for Blade Runner was concerned, the casting for Batty was spot on.
Gosh, you really got some nice toys here.
Harrison Ford hated making the movie. For an incredibly long time, Harrison Ford stayed quiet about his terrible experience making Blade Runner. As rumor had it, he and Ridley Scott rarely got along and were constantly fighting about Deckard's character on set and why the character would or would not do something. But it wouldn't be until the 2007 documentary Dangerous Days, The Making of Blade Runner, where we would hear from Ford on his experience making the film. In the documentary, he claims to have made peace with the film and is now on amicable terms with Ridley Scott. In fact, Ford says the thing he remembers most is not the grueling shoot or the arguments with his director, but being forced to record the voiceover which executive producers Jerry Perenchio and Bud Yorkin insisted be in the film.
I'm breaking my heart here, and he's laughing.
Ford doesn't actually mention any names, but in discussing the voiceover which was used in the theatrical cut, he says it was written by clowns.
I was restless and hungry. I needed the streets and I needed food.
Ridley's Inspirations.
What seems to be the problem?
Visual influences for Blade Runner include Edward Hopper's painting Nighthawks, French science fiction magazine Metal Hurlant, the Hong Kong landscape, the industrial landscape of his former home in England, and the work of futurist Italian architect Antonio Sant'Elia.
We've got a lot in common. What do you mean? Similar problems.
Rutger Hauer had control of his character.
The angels fell. Deep thunder rolled around their shores.
In Blade Runner, Rutger Hauer plays the villain of the film, a Nexus 6 replicant by the name of Roy Batty. What not a lot of fans know is that he was given the freedom to make choices on what dialogue Batty would use and his mannerisms on set. The most notable of which is that Hauer would rewrite the now famous Tears in Rain speech by removing what he thought to be overwritten techno-speak.
All those moments will be lost.
He kept the attack ships and C-beams line and added the classic Tears in Rain line. But let us be clear, he wrote those lines. They were not and never were improvised on set as many fans claim them to be. Quick hits.
You were made as well as we could make you.
But not to last.
Instead of one final Easter egg moment, we thought we'd toss out a few quick things we thought all Blade Runner fans would want to know. Critics hated the movie. Siskel and Ebert gave the film 2 thumbs down when it came out. Siskel had a change of thumbs years later, and Ebert would go on to give the director's version a 4-star rating. The original cut was over 4 hours long. At one point, Martin Scorsese had interest in optioning the film. Ridley Scott was not allowed to use his normal crew for the film due to union regulations. The snake scale magnification image is actually marijuana. In the scene with the newspaper, all the magazines are $30 and dated the wrong year. And that's the list. Are there any more cool moments that we missed? Let us know in the comments and make sure to subscribe to our channel and watch our other videos.
Too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?